G'day guys, how's it going? The video that I'm bringing you to today is covering the topic of discipline. You've probably heard that trading is 80% psychology, 20% analysis. Personally, I think it's more like 90-95% psychology. And I think discipline is the most important skill you can have in terms of your psychology. Not just for trading, I think discipline is one of the most important skills you can have in life in general. So this comes about because the other day someone asked, how do I get more disciplined? And it sort of threw me. I had to step back and think, well, I wasn't always as disciplined as I am today. How did I become as disciplined as I am today? And I don't think I'm a role model of discipline. I'm going to talk about some areas that I have basically no discipline in a minute. But I know for a fact that I'm more disciplined than I was 5 years ago. So obviously I've learned something somewhere along the line and worked on it. And I think that brings me to the key point. I don't think discipline is something you're born with. I think it's a skill that you practice and get better at. Probably the textbook example of that is David Goggins, right? You know, a lot of people know who he is. If you don't, look him up. He's an incredible man. But he talks about when he was 20-ish, he used to be fat and lazy and dumb and, you know, all sorts of things. Now he's a weapon. He runs like 240-mile races. He is an absolute weapon, but he clearly wasn't born with it because he hasn't always been that way. He made the decision to practice being disciplined. And that's the thing. You have to make the decision. You make the decision and then you do it. That's how you get more disciplined. But he made that decision in so many different areas and he stuck at it and it got easier and easier for him. And now he is one of, if not the most disciplined people in the world. So always remember, it's a skill. It's something you practice. It's something you get better at. It's not something you're born with. That said, how do you practice it? So there are, you know, so many different ways you can. One of my favorite ways to practice discipline is running. And I say that as someone who doesn't like running, okay? To me, you know, it's easier to practice discipline with something you don't like because otherwise you just do it because you want to do it. With running, there's so many days that I don't want to go for a run, but I have the discipline to go out there and go for a run. And even if I run 10 meters, I've already ticked the box. I've already been disciplined enough to get outside and go for my run. But then once you're running, or once I'm running, so often I want to quit. I want to stop. I want to walk. Every time that I want to walk and I keep running, that is a chance to practice discipline. Every time I want to quit, that's a chance to practice discipline. I actually used to measure whether a run was good or not in terms of how many times I wanted to quit and kept going. And not how far I ran, that didn't matter. There were like, you know, 500-meter runs I did that felt like better runs than some 5K runs I did because I just wanted to quit every second, and I did at least 500 meters. I mean, it's probably more than 500 meters, but there were really short runs I did where all I wanted to do was quit, and they were some of my best runs because I just pushed through for as long as I could. So I think running is a fantastic way to practice discipline. Now, you might not want to do it with running, right? You might decide that you're going to wash the dishes immediately after you've cooked every meal that you do. That's practicing discipline, right? Just find little ways that you can practice it throughout your life. And they'll all add up. They will all make it easier for you to practice discipline. And discipline in one area, I think, makes you better at discipline in other areas. Anyone who knows anything about like neural plasticity, they'll know that you know, you essentially create like thought patterns, right? And the more that you practice the thought patterns of discipline, the better it gets. And that's a meta skill. It applies to so many different things. So yeah, I think running is a great way to practice it. Find little ways in your life that you want to practice it. That is where I would say you should definitely start. Now, one way that you can really make your discipline work for you is to find really little acts of discipline that have huge results. So a textbook one for me is when it comes to food. I absolutely love food, but I have no discipline when it comes to certain foods. So if I buy a pack of Tim Tams and eat one, I'm eating the whole pack. Like I just cannot stop after a single Tim Tam. I think it was Alan Watts who said, there's no greater test of a man than the ability to eat one single peanut. And I get it. Like I can't eat a Tim Tam, or I mean I can, but it takes so much discipline to stop before I eat the second Tim Tam that I just don't do it. I just eat the whole pack, it's gone. So what I do is I practice a little bit of discipline at the supermarket and don't buy Tim Tams and other junk foods, whatever it might be. But I just don't buy them at the supermarket, which doesn't take that much discipline. And then I don't have to try and use a whole lot of discipline to stop myself after eating a single Tim Tam. Right? It's a little decision that makes a huge impact. Another big area that I do that is with my phone. There's a setting on my phone called focus mode, and it allows me to block distracting apps so that they don't give me notifications. I can't access them. Yeah. And so what I do is every night before bed, I put my phone in focus mode. And then the next day, I don't turn focus mode off until I've done all my work for the day. that is a little act of discipline that stops me from having to expand a heap. I used to scroll Reddit for like 4 hours a day. Like I was shocking. But that little act of discipline of leaving my phone in focus mode and not turning it off until I'm done for the day, which doesn't take that much discipline, that has huge results. I know for a fact, since I started doing that, I've had days where I've gotten more done in that day than what I used to in an entire week. And that's not exaggerated at all. That is just a small act of discipline that I can do that has massive results. So look for things like that. Look for little areas you can practice discipline that will give you huge results, and it will really improve your life. I mean, it certainly has for me, because it's kind of easy to do those little ones, and they have huge effects. So that's a big one. Now, the other things to remember is, like I said, it's a skill, right? It is a muscle that you build. And the good thing about that is the more you do it and the more that you get momentum up, the easier it gets. So a really good example of that is like my morning routine. My morning routine, I don't even think about. I just wake up and I just do it. And the other reason I've gotten to that point, and it's easy because I don't even think about it. The reason I've gotten to that point is I've been disciplined enough for long enough that I've just kept doing it, and I've built the momentum. I've built the discipline muscle that it's become easy. Now, that's a really good discipline to have, that the discipline of a morning routine, because for me, it makes me so much happier. I will often wake up feeling not good. By the time I'm done my morning routine, I almost always feel good. That discipline has had a huge impact in my life. And even on the days where I don't feel good, I'm still disciplined. There's a Buddhist saying that's, if so, so what? On the days where I don't feel good, I repeat that to myself. I think, if so, so if so, I feel like shit, so what? So what? I feel like shit, I'm just going to go and do the stuff I was going to do anyway. I have the discipline to just feel shit and just do the stuff I was going to do. And the alternative is, I'll lie on the couch and feel shit. At least if I still do the stuff I was going to do, if I practice that discipline, I feel better at the end of the day because I've done something. I've gotten somewhere, and half the time you just snap out of it halfway through the day anyway. But even on the days you don't, at least you can look back and say, well, I did something, So that is how I think, that's how I practice discipline. Some of the ways that I do. The last thing I want to touch on is Jocko Willink. His quote, or he's even got a book named it, Discipline Equals Freedom. When I first heard that, I thought it was dumb. I thought it was ridiculous. I thought they were polar opposites. I thought discipline is having rules and restrictions, and freedom is being able to do whatever you want, whenever you want. How can discipline equal freedom? They're two different things. The more that I practice discipline, the more I see the wisdom in that quote. My morning routine is a perfect example, because if I'm disciplined with my morning routine, a lot of the time I feel so much better throughout the day, and that's a kind of freedom. But it doesn't just work in that way. Like when I am done for the day, when I turn my phone off focus mode, I don't have the nagging thought of, oh, you've still got to do that later, or you've got to do that later. I am free. I can do, if I knock off at 5, I can do whatever I want until I go to bed. I am completely free for that time period because I've done everything I had to do for that day. I am lucky enough that I haven't had to work for 20 months now. The only reason that is because I had the discipline to get good at trading, to put in the time to get good at trading. Sorry. I had the discipline to work at that. Now I have complete freedom of my time. I don't have to be at work at any time of day. I don't have to do anything, really at all. I have complete freedom. But the only reason I have complete freedom is because I had the discipline a long time ago to practice something. So I really do believe discipline is one of the most important skills you can have. I know for a fact that it's changed my life. I know for a fact I'm so much happier because of the disciplines that I do practice. But it is 100% a skill. I used to be fat. I used to be lazy. I used to be all sorts of things. And it is only through being disciplined and working on them. And I've obviously still got a long way to go. I'm still probably a little bit overweight, definitely a little bit larger than I'd like to be, but that's okay. That's life, But I am 100% a better person today because of discipline. And it is a skill that I have practiced. It is something that I have built that has become easier for me, not necessarily always easy, but definitely easier. So I hope this video helps. I hope it gives you some tips, some ways to work on it. Just find things in your life where you can practice it, because they do. They really all add up. Discipline is a meta skill that will change your life if you work at it, if you apply it. So there you go. Hope that helps. Happy trading, happy living, and I'll talk to you guys soon.